This is David Arnett with Tulsa Today, and today we have the great honor to welcome Governor Mary Fallin of Oklahoma to an interview. And Governor, you've had such a long career in the legislature and then in Washington and then back here to lead the state. And in your term as governor, you've created 100,000 jobs, seen the unemployment rate drop from 7 to 4.6%, and our GNP is growing faster than most states. How are you going to top that in your second term?
Well, thank you, David. It's a great pleasure to be on your show today. You know, when I ran for governor back over 4 years ago, we had gone through a national recession, and one of the things I promised people of Oklahoma is that we were going to get Oklahoma's economy back on track, help Oklahomans find good paying jobs, and that's what we've done. We have created over 102,000 new jobs in the state. We've been able to lower our unemployment rate from 7% down to 4.6%, and we were broke as a state. We only had $2.03 in our bank account. Now we have $500 million in our savings account. And so the answer to your question is that we got to keep the pedal to the metal and keep going, keep pushing on things that will grow our economy, create good paying jobs, create a strong educated workforce, focus on eliminating government waste, making government more efficient, more effective, keeping our taxes low in the state of Oklahoma, while also funding priorities like education, public safety, infrastructure, just like the bridge we were able to open today in Tulsa has been one of our major projects, and public health and human services for people that need our extra help. So basically continue to focus on a strong, vibrant economy. And then one of my other top goals is going to be continuing to focus on education. Education is critical. It's the key to our success. It's the key to eliminating poverty in our state, and it's also the key to helping our children find good paying jobs once they graduate, either from high school, going to career tech, or to college. And it's also the key for economic growth with our companies and our small businesses, especially in Oklahoma, that need to find the workforce they need to grow.
To address education, certainly common education in Oklahoma has gone through some turmoil with standards and Common Core. I'm not even sure at this moment what Common Core has become or what it was, but it's my understanding you are going to help establish Oklahoma's standards of education. What are your goals in those?
Well, that's a great question. And let me just first of all say, once again, education is critical to Oklahoma's success, not only for our children, and Wade and I have 6 children between us. We want them all to get a good education, get a good job. It's also important for our economy and our success. But here's what we need to do, David. We had quite the debate over the last many years about education. We have to have academic rigor in the classroom. We have to have standards, accountability. We have to have transparency in how schools are performing. We have to have the very best teachers in the classroom, and we have to make sure the money gets to the classroom. And of course, we did pass legislation, which I signed as governor, to repeal and replace Common Core with Oklahoma academic standards. And that is something we're working very hard to do, and we will do. And I've had a lot of people say, well, can we do that? Absolutely. We're smart people in Oklahoma, and we all care and love for our children. Small businesses certainly got to have the workforce that they need. We can do that, and we are doing that in the state of Oklahoma.
In transparency and standards, that's a wonderful thing, and we really should have that. But we have a lack of transparency, it seems, in one area of higher education. We have not been able to audit, as I understand it, the institutions of higher education that we pay for. Why is that so, and does it have anything to do with higher education apparently being the preferred retirement system for former Democrat legislators?
That's a good question. And first of all, higher education by our Constitution is set about differently than other areas of authority in state government. So it has its own kind of standalone body. But to your question, should we have accountability, transparency in higher education? Absolutely. Okay. And I've been working very closely with our wonderful college presidents in our state, certainly our chancellor, to say we had to really hone down and make sure it's very focused, that we're getting results, that we're getting what we paid for the state. And I wish we could do an audit, because I think it's important for the taxpayers, those that fund our higher education system. But until there's a change in law, that's not possible right now. But one of the things I've been insisting that we do is that we have performance-based funding. And in other words, that if we set a goal that we want more college graduates, more career technology certification in our state, that when we fund those types of programs, that we get results and that we measure those results and we're transparent with those results. I think that's important, not only for our higher education system, but certainly even through K through 12 education.
And there seems to be a growth in higher education facilities. Now, are we up to what, 47, 50 some odd of those schools? Does Oklahoma really need that many?
Well, back a long time ago, many decades long before I ever came into public office, it was thought that the thought was in Oklahoma that there should be a higher education institution with about every 30 miles, 50 miles or so in our state. So that's how that originally started a long time ago, before you and I, were involved in politics. But what I'm focusing our higher education folks on is how can we make sure we're meeting the needs, especially regionally in our state, for the businesses that are in those regions. And so I've been working very closely on aligning K through 12, our education system, with our career technology systems and our higher education leadership to say, let's focus on the silos of our top industries in our state and our top businesses, and to make sure we're offering the type of skill sets, the type of educational certification, whether it's in a career technology school or even a higher education degree, that is needed so we can continue once again to grow Oklahoma's economy and to really work on that. And I'll give you a couple examples. You go down to southeastern Oklahoma, their businesses and their industries in that area of the state are much different than they are if you go out to western Oklahoma. Western Oklahoma has a tremendous amount of energy sector jobs, agriculture jobs in that area. So they need a different type of workforce than you might need down in southeastern Oklahoma, which also has manufacturing, also has some forestry and other things like that. But really looking at the regions of the state, the types of career technology certificates and degrees we're offering and higher education degrees, and matching that so we can continue to grow Oklahoma's jobs.
Okay. Oklahoma conservatives worry a bit at this time that we have a president and an attorney general with little respect for the limits placed on them by the Constitution.
Me too.
You are Oklahoma's point person. You are our governor. What concerns do you have upcoming, and how strong are you in the protection of individual liberty for your citizens?
Well, it's important that we protect our individual liberties, our freedom, and stand for our Constitution in not only our state, but certainly nationally. So I'll give you two quick examples of that, and I could give you a lot more, but I'll give you two that's real relevant. It just happened recently. One was that the Obama administration had said that they were going to give what's been a long tradition throughout our nation, to give surplus property that is used in firefighting to our local fire departments.
Yes.
So, and the reason was the EPA said that the firefighting equipment caused too much carbon emission.
Oh, wonderful.
And so they weren't going to allow our local fire departments to get that. Well, that's important for our rural fire departments. And we have a lot of grass fires in Oklahoma. We have a lot of certainly tornado damage. Sometimes we have flooding or whatever it might be. And we typically receive that equipment that is surplus over from the federal government back to the states, given to us, free to the state of Oklahoma. So they sent us a letter a couple months ago saying that wasn't going to happen. Myself and Senator Inhofe stood up to the Obama administration and we said that's not right, because by the way, fires that are occurring in Oklahoma are carbon emission events.
Oh yeah, you would think the
By the
EPA
way.
would want to stop those.
So that is one thing. The other thing was Fort Sill. You might remember
Yes.
the Obama administration has not secured our borders. We've had all these illegal immigrant children from North America that has come through, Central America, that has come through Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador that came across the border into Oklahoma and stayed at Fort Sill. We weren't given any information, basically, where they went, who they were, why they were there. I mean, it's very limited information that we were given. So I started really putting pressure on the Obama administration to give us information. Let us see it, let us talk to people, let us know where the children are going, close the borders, enforce the laws, and do the things we need to do, frankly, for national security purposes.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm very worried about for our nation right now. And because of that pressure, that we were able to get Fort Sill shut down from housing those children from those countries, and to be able to put them into, be able to close the facility down, to be able to put it back to what it's supposed to be doing, which is training our military.
Do we have any idea how many of that wave of immigrant children have been located within Oklahoma? And do they represent a strain on our common education and health services?
I was able to get that we have had 240 something children that have been placed through the system, their system, not mine, into the state of Oklahoma, either with sponsors or with a family member that were already here. They refuse to tell us where they're at. They refuse to tell us whether it's with a legal family or illegal family that's in the state of Oklahoma. I've actually been asking around, have we seen some of these students showing up in our public school systems, but I haven't been able to find concrete evidence, but we know they're out there somewhere. And you know, David, I'm for people being able to immigrate to America and to Oklahoma legally, and we have a system to do that. We have a great melting pot in America of all different types of cultures and wonderful people that have come here and made us a stronger nation, but we have a system to do it legally. And if we don't know who's coming across our border, if we don't enforce our laws as a nation, we don't enforce our Constitution, we don't have border security, that's a threat. And if you look at all the different things going on across the world right now with ISIL, if you look at what's happening in Syria, Ukraine, I mean, you just name the country that's got some challenges, certainly Iraq. You know, it's a dangerous time around our world, and we got to make sure that we secure our borders.
Now, as I ask about Oklahoma's conservatives having concerns, Oklahoman on the left also have concerns that our independence, which you've expressed well, from the federal government might harm us with Medicare and Medicaid and other funds that we are receiving from the government. How do you answer those concerns?
Well, real simply, I don't think Medicaid and Medicare are going anywhere. I mean, they're still going to be in the state of Oklahoma, and so that's going to be here. But one of the things we've had a big debate about is the expansion of Obamacare in our state, and certainly across our nation. And actually, my opponent wants to expand Obamacare in the state of Oklahoma. But if you did that, if you were to expand Medicaid in the state of Oklahoma, it's estimated that over the next 10 years, it could cost over $850 million out of state funds to be able to do that.
That's beyond what the feds would
Beyond,
supply?
That would be the state portion of that.
Goodness.
And so what that means is you would have to take away that money away from education. And we've been talking about, and I want to fund more education. I hope we can fund teacher pay raises, you know, in the next term. If I'm fortunate enough to get elected, get more money to the classroom, but you have to grow the economy to do that. And if you take away the money to have expansion of Obamacare in the state, education funding would suffer, transportation funding would suffer, we wouldn't be able to fix all these structurally deficient bridges we've been fixing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to put the money towards corrections and public safety to keep our families safe, and to keep the bad guys locked up in our prison systems. There are repercussions to that. So, you know, I'm a conservative. I believe in limited government. I believe in lower taxes so people can keep more of their hard-earned money. I believe in fair regulation, but I also believe in standing up to Washington whenever they do things that could harm our state or harm our citizens, or even be able, if they intrude upon our state's rights.
Yes. Now, to address this federal overreach and overregulation and lawlessness, actually, in some ways, from some perspective of the federal government, some leaders have suggested a state convention to either propose and ratify amendments to the Constitution or to look at the entire thing. Now, that's certainly a states' rights issue. How do you view that controversy or that dialogue at this point, knowing that it might evolve?
I think one of the real simple things to do is just elect conservatives to those offices. Elect people like Congressman James Lankford to the U.S. Senate. Re-elect Senator Jim Inhofe to his position. It's who you send to Washington that makes a big difference. And this is certainly a big election year in 2014. We have 36 governor seats that are up this year. We have a tremendous amount of U.S. Senate seats, and a lot of congressional seats. There's a chance that conservatives may take back control of the U.S. Senate. That has a big effect upon the nation as a whole and how we implement policy as a whole, which is going to be important because we're moving in towards a time period that after these elections we'll be moving into the 2016 presidential election. And I think there's a lot of us in the nation that think our nation's heading in the wrong direction and that we got to change course and are ready to move on to the 2016 presidential election.
In your 15 some odd years of public service, what has changed over the years, or what has surprised you most in this current race and campaign, and what would you have Tulsans to know, kind of personally on the side, about how you look at public service and at this point in your career?
Well, first of all, it's a great pleasure and a wonderful privilege and honor to be able to serve the state of Oklahoma, and I see it as a way to give back to our nation, as a way to help make Oklahomans' lives better. And that's my goal. That's what I hope my legacy will be, that under my administration that Oklahomans will do better. Now they do have their own choice as to how they want their lives to go, but I'm going to do everything I can to create the right climate so they can do better. Probably the biggest thing I have noticed over my years in different offices, because I've had the opportunity to serve on the federal level and on the state level, is that on the state level, you get things done. You get things done. I like checking off, that we've been able to put $150 million new dollars in education because we were able to turn the economy around from that 7% down to 4.6% unemployment. We've created 100,000 new jobs, and so that's why we have been able to put more of that funding back towards education that was cut in the prior administration because we went through a national recession. It's just a fact of the economy itself. I like it that we're ranked number 2 in the nation in per capita income growth for a family of 4, meaning that families that are out there working and doing their very best are actually doing better right now. I like it that we're 4th in the nation in gross domestic product growth, the 4th fastest, strongest economy in the nation. And it's all because of conservative principles. Lower taxes, focusing on eliminating government waste, building a stronger, educated workforce, and having accountability and standards, and then making sure that we're creating the right business climate so that small businesses can grow and flourish. And that's what I hope to do over the next 4 years, is to continue that forward momentum, because we all want our children to do better than what we've done. I want my children to do better than what I've been able to do, as a mother. And I know fathers want that also.
I would hope so. Governor Fallin, you've been very gracious. Thank you so very much for your time.
You're welcome. I appreciate
it.
Thank you.
Take good care.